Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Today we're going to be talking about uncertainty and Thanksgiving. Are you feeling uncertain about the markets this season? Joining me is special guest Joseph Warren. Let's dig deep into inflation, debt, and taxes, and how we celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yep.
When the economy's got us guessing. Keep listening for real talk, timely insights, and a dose of the holiday spirit. When people say we live in uncertain times, they're typically referring to periods characterized by high levels of unpredictability, instability, and rapid change across various aspects of life, such as politics, the economy, society, technology, or global events. Today, we're excited to have Joseph back with us to dive into some critical topics around protecting your retirement. You might remember that Joseph is a financial planner with Financial Planning HQ, and Financial Planning HQ is one of our sponsors. Joseph, welcome back to the show.
Really happy to be here.
Can you tell us what are some of the threats that exist to people's retirement plans?
Yeah, that's a great question. You mentioned debt, taxes, inflation. I think those are three things we're all not going to be grateful for this Thanksgiving.
Good point.
One of them is, taxes, that last one there. And during my first week here, I talked about the IRS and our $38 trillion in debt that our country has. And tariffs can maybe, it's like a drop in the bucket. It can have a small impact on that. But most of that money is going to come from taxation of the citizens, right? And, there's a lot of, spending kind of getting out of control. It's something that's been talked about a lot this year. We had the Department of Governmental Efficiency and things like that.
Right.
And there's road work to do, but there's also, silly uses of the money. One that I found for this episode is they did a study on if pigeons can develop gambling addictions. It's a real study. You can look it up if you're curious.
Pigeons and their gambling addictions.
Yep.
Do they go to Vegas?
They would press a button, and sometimes it would give them a random reward. So they would get food or not get food versus certainty, and they would choose to gamble.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess it could be useful. But
I'm going to talk to you about that later in the show. I have some important things related to financial planning and related to the holidays.
Oh, yeah. And I think we'll talk about a lot of different stuff. But with the IRS, to fund those studies, they use our tax dollars. They tax the citizens. Mm-hmm. So our philosophy as a company is that we want our clients to pay the least amount of taxes possible. And we do that with tax strategy as one piece of the puzzle, with investment strategy, goal planning, and everything else. But one client that my father worked with, actually, very good clients of ours, he found a mistake. So we do something called a tax document review, where we'll actually look at the past 3 years of tax returns and see if we can find any mistakes with our CPA partners that we work with, or with the client CPA if they cooperate with that. So we'll look at everything. And one that he found was we had done something called a 1035 exchange, which is it's a tax code word, but all it means is it's an exchange of an insurance product that's tax-free, from insurance product to insurance product.
Okay.
There's a real estate version too, where if you buy another real estate, property, you can defer those taxes.
Right.
But it wasn't entered that way, and that ended up saving that client $12,000 on their taxes.
Wow, that's a lot.
So that was, that's a good one that I remember. And it's funny that that's coming up now, because just recently, like a month ago, I had a similar situation with one of my own clients. So he was a business owner. It wasn't the retirement situation, but he was a business owner that his biggest concern when he came to me was taxes. He said, he had a really good income, works in the oil fields. He, was paying so much money in taxes, it was starting to slow him down towards his goals.
Right.
And so we threw everything we could at that. We had him set up an S corporation to save on the FICA taxes. That ended up saving about $10,000 per year, just having that S corporation set up.
Great.
Set up tax-deferred retirement accounts, because he didn't have that set up. Tax-free accounts as well. So we'll have tax-free money growing, and also some tax breaks for this year. But one of the biggest things we said to do was actually to hire a new CPA, work with one of our preferred partners. And the reason why is because we were working on that plan, we would call a CPA and very unresponsive. It took months to get back. And then when we talked to them, not very interested in any planning, just almost a historical type of
Right.
we just handle the taxes. We don't care about the
Just
strategy.
doing the 1040.
Yep. But he didn't want to do that first year, so he just decided not to. It can be a tough thing, so he didn't fire a CPA.
Right.
But future year, we were doing that tax document return, and we looked at everything, and we saw that there was a huge deduction missing, qualified business income deduction, and that was a $30,000 or $40,000 deduction he was entitled to that wasn't on there. So just adding that on there on the amended tax is going to save him about $10,000 in his taxes.
That's great.
So whether it's I've never had a situation with the client where we weren't in some way able to improve it. Sometimes it's a quick $10,000, $12,000, but the long-term strategy is even more powerful. You can sometimes see hundreds of thousands of savings. Working with really smart CPAs, we're going to have Mark Nelson on. You mentioned,
Right. In
who's one of our
couple of weeks.
Yeah, working with top-notch people to come up with great strategies. We're always able to improve the situation.
Awesome. Well, taxes can sneak up on anyone.
Yep.
And you almost don't feel like you're getting anything in return except for, the military and protecting society.
There's good and bad, yeah.
It's clear that proactive planning really matters.
Yep.
So what's another threat that exists to people's retirement plans?
Yeah. Another one I talked about last week, and I called it the silent thief. I don't know if you remember. But
I
the
do.
silent thief goes in there to the grocery store and changes the prices, makes it more expensive each time you go. And I think one client I like talking about with this, because we've had a recent bout of this in 2020, starting with the COVID pandemic, right? There was a slowdown, a shutdown, and there was a lot of pent-up demand. So when people, came out of the shutdown, they spent money like crazy. The restaurants were full. I don't know if you all
Right,
remember
and
that.
the government gave people money to do that.
Yep, and there was a lot of money printing, including the stimulus checks, right? And that created inflation. So 2 years later, you saw inflation rates at 9.1%. There was talk of inflation might get out of control. So the government started tightening the money supply a little bit to deal with that, and they raised rates.
Right.
But during that time, we had a client who had a lot of money just in cash and low-earning interest-bearing accounts, like, checking and savings account earning 0.1% or less.
Yeah, people do that when they're afraid, right?
And it was because of fear. And it was something that we talk about. And a lot of times I didn't, money is emotional is something that I like to say. Really, our money decisions are emotional. But we talked through that, and we had what I call like a come to Jesus meeting. And I showed that if you keep doing what you're doing, you have a 3% chance of success in retirement. But if you invest strategically, little by little over time, we could get you to it was 84% chance of success. And we talked through how they felt about the market and everything. They decided to go with what we said to do. And during downturns, we took a small account and grew it pretty large. But every time there was a downswing, we would just have a market alert, and we would just make sure that they could put 10,000 in, put 10,000 in. And that client, we actually got him up to 100% chance of success this year. He retired, I believe, a month ago or 2 months in August, and we're having a retirement party for him, next week.
How cool is that? Y'all are great.
Yep.
That's a great story about how turning his low odds into 100% is really amazing.
Yep.
Do you have any other takeaways for today?
Yeah, we talk about uncertainty, and I think one thing is it's really powerful if you just combine everything together. So it's not just about minimizing taxes. It's minimizing taxes while maximizing your investment returns, but also protecting the downside, making sure you're not taking on too much risk. We get into cash flow planning, even budget planning. We'll help our clients with that. But making sure there's some money going towards their goals, going towards investments account set up for each goal. Every account has a clear purpose, so the clients can check their dashboard and see real quickly, am I on track for my goals or not?
Right.
How is this account for this goal doing? And then you get into once we have everything protecting it with insurance, making sure that there's hedges in place if anything goes wrong. But the big thing I want to say, and of course estate planning, working with top-notch people like you, we're able to make sure people's wishes are carried out,
Yeah,
whether
thanks
they
for
speak
that
for themselves
plug.
or not. But the thing is, our clients don't really worry that much about when Trump announces a tariff. When Liberation Day happened in April and the stock market was crashing,
Your clients.
our clients,
Because they know, they've seen on paper, they've seen the math about how it's supposed to work out.
they know and have that certainty, but at the same time, they also know there's backup plans as well. We talk
Okay.
about if this happens, if there's a market downturn, this is what we're going to do. This is why we have this cash sitting here. This is why we have this set up to protect
Okay.
the downside. And that puts them in a place where they have much more peace of mind, more free time to not focus on like what's happening in China, what's happening here.
Right.
And they can just focus on living their lives, spending time with their family, doing the things that are more important than money. And we handle the finances, but answer to them. And we tell them, this is what we're doing. This is how it looks towards your goals. We have our meeting, and they know that they're on track, even if things go wrong, because uncertainty is a certainty in a long enough time frame. There's always going to be some uncertainty,
Right. Well, that's biblical.
right?
It says there's going to be wars and rumors of wars and
Yep.
natural disasters, and nobody can predict what's going to happen next.
For everything a season. So it's kind of like having a plan in place makes it so no matter what happens, you have that peace of mind. You know you're going to be okay.
Do you have any resources for us?
I do. I created a year-end tax planning guide for the first week, and I'm just going to send that to anyone who calls me at 210-444-2128. Just a year-end tax planning guide, completely free. And for the first 3 people who sign up, I'll also send a book. And, you know, if this sounds like something you want and you want to schedule a complimentary consultation, just mention it on the phone and we can get you scheduled for that. No obligation, but we want to really sit down and help you make good decisions with your money.
And what's the number again?
210-444-2128.
Stay tuned. We got to take a break.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.